Alright guys, so welcome to this subsection where we're going to talk about all things muscle growth. Now, to open this conversation, what I want to do is just highlight the difference between more of a concentrated muscle growth approach and more of a casual muscle growth approach, because there's many ways in which you can skin a cat, and essentially what the difference would be is your rate of progress. And both approaches, or a more of a concentrated approach, might suit a certain individual, and more of a casual approach might suit somebody else. And it's really about recognizing you as an individual, or whoever you were looking after, and managing your expectations and managing the rate of progress and all the variables that essentially input in order to result in that outcome. It's about managing these things and making sure that there's not too much pressure applied on an individual relative to where they're at in life and with their fitness goals. So, more of a concentrated approach. Really, this defines or describes packing on as much muscle mass as humanly possible within a given time frame. More of a casual approach is living your life and doing the best you can relative to what is realistic for you. And you might be an individual who hasn't reached the level of commitment in their fitness journey in order to dedicate absolutely all of their time and attention into producing the best results possible. If you're somebody who is more focused in your career, it's a bit more demanding. If you're somebody who potentially has kids, you've got other responsibilities, you've got other things going on. You might not be able to adhere to training 5 days a week and being in the gym for 2 hours and eating as much as possible. More of a casual approach might suit you, and therefore that just describes making slightly slower gains essentially, but in a way in which you're just training a bit less. And you're still doing a good job within that, but it's just less frequent. You might spend a little bit less time in the gym. You might be on your diet most of the time, but then you allow yourself some flexibility. You might miss a meal here or there, and you're just not going to beat yourself up about it. And you accept the fact that yes, your gains might be a little bit slower, but that's cool because you don't need to make the fastest progress possible. You still want to enjoy it, and you still want to adhere to your other responsibilities. So that might be a bit more of a casual approach, which actually is a much more healthy approach that suits the average Joe, the average lifestyle Lucy, or the average general population or member of the general population. So we've got more of a concentrated approach and more of a casual approach. Now going back to the more concentrated approach, really what you'd be doing in this situation is taking an individual who's highly motivated and highly driven, and you would get them to maximize their training frequency, training intensity, and training volume relative to their recovery capacity. You would try and maximize their output. Make sure you're not overtraining or under-recovering, so to speak, or in a different description. You're going to maximize their output in terms of training. You're also then going to manage every variable very carefully that ultimately input in order to deliver good recovery. So things like optimizing your sleep and managing stress and putting specific protocols in place with that might come across as a bit meticulous for the average Joe or the average lifestyle Lucy, but for this individual, they want the best results, so for them it's okay. So you're going to manage the minutiae of all the things that go into recovering properly, and their food you're going to be extremely vigilant in terms of making sure that you're tracking and make sure that everything's prepared, making sure that everything is as good as it possibly can be in order to support your goals. So two different approaches. And actually, you can be an individual who generally adheres to more of a concentrated approach, but let's say you've got exams in university or something big comes up in your life and you have to reduce your expectations of yourself. If that's the case and you have to drop how many times you're training in the gym to 4 times, where it's usually 5, and you don't have as much time to spend in the gym, so maybe you just do 5 exercises, whereas you used to do 7, and maybe your diet sometimes slips on the weekend, but generally it's pretty good, then you need to try and avoid having an all or nothing mindset and recognizing that that's a temporary period of your life. And just because you're opting for a bit more of a relaxed approach towards your goals doesn't mean you're making no progress at all. So basically, a little bit of a rant, but we just want to highlight the difference between more of a concentrated approach and more of a casual approach, because not everybody should be adhering to the more concentrated approach. And the more concentrated approach might not be realistic for everybody. And I just wanted to jump on and say that it's actually okay if you're an average Joe, lifestyle Lucy, or maybe you're somebody who's usually highly driven, but you're going through a temporary period of your life where you might need to manage your expectations of yourself, but it's also worth reminding yourself that just because you're not operating at your absolute peak that you used to, doesn't mean that progress has stopped. So that's the main difference. In the next series of videos, we're going to talk about how to optimize a more concentrated muscle growth approach. So see you in the next one.